Hello everyone, welcome back to this retrospective of my old superhero and supervillain drawings from my youth. I think last time we talked about Ox, and even if we didn't, there's not a lot to say about Ox, he's a strong guy. But we'll keep looking at these villains here. We're getting pretty close to the end. The next one here is Phantom, and I don't know if I spelled Phantom wrong on purpose. I think I did. I'm going to give myself a little bit of credit and say that that's just to... like when you misspell a word because it's somebody's name. That's pretty common in comics. But the Phantom here is just an invisible guy. And I think he was based off the classic Invisible Man story. So in that he can't, it's not like a power to become invisible. He just is invisible. But he's got this cloak, and he's supposed to be holding up his arm so you can see that he's the glove, you can't see the arm coming out of it. I don't know how well it comes across, but he's got this theater mask type mask, and I just thought the design was cool. And he was part of a team, but I don't remember what group it was with. I just remember for sure that he was definitely meant to be with a handful of other villains, but I don't remember what their gimmick was, or even specifically which characters it was. I just remember he didn't always act alone. He might have done some stuff alone as a minor villain, but just being invisible by itself doesn't come in too much handy once you're caught. Though there are lots of great superhero episodes of cartoon shows and stuff where there's just an invisible guy and the Batman or whoever has to throw paint on him or put up a smoke fog so they can see the invisible person. Anyway, that's Phantom. And we finally get to the Present Master. So the Present Master is a character that I was really proud of, not necessarily for the design. He's just meant to be a guy. But I like the concept of the character. This was going to be a big event villain. Kind of I mentioned Chester the Jester before, was a villain who was going to be a big event, and the type of villain who his presence in the world fundamentally changes the way the world works. And in Chester the Jester's case, it was because he had this very powerful mind control, and could just by him existing, he was controlling the minds of pretty much anyone who had ever been near him. Present Master's influence is different because he has he doesn't have any superpowers himself, but except for that he can give superpowers to other people. So when he comes in contact with Vibranium, it gives him this ability to imbue power into anyone he touches. So what he does is he basically recruits this army of powerless criminals who he gives powers to, and this allows him to create this very loyal following of people who he's imbued with power, and he becomes kind of this kingpin type character because nobody wants to kill him because they're not sure if their powers would still exist if he died. They don't really know how it works, and also they're just kind of grateful. So the way I saw it was that he would be able to build up this loyal following, and he would eventually get to the point where he had enough people that he could break into prisons and just add to his army by imbuing all the people in the prison with powers. And I had mentioned the Boston Bomber was supposed to get a superpower later where he would be able to create explosions in a similar way to Jubilee from X-Men. And that was one example that a lot of the villains from the Shadow era of superheroes before Vibranium came to Earth and before there were superpowers, so a lot of the powerless villains from that era would then get superpowers during this event. And I don't think I ever decided for sure if the people who got powers during this event would keep them. It's possible that the Present Master also would have been the origin story for a lot of these characters that I had but didn't know how they got their powers. He might have been the origin story for half of the villains on this roster. But I actually kind of like that. But he eventually would have been defeated, and either he would have been killed off or he would have been incapacitated, incarcerated in some way. I don't know what they would have done with him, but the idea was just that while he was around, it was complete chaos because he was just handing out powers to anyone who would help him disrupt society, which was his main goal. He just wanted to create... He wasn't necessarily an anarchist, but he kind of behaved like a movie anarchist, where he would just promote as much chaos and bedlam and disruption of the norm as he possibly could. And the way he did that was just by giving everyone powers. So that was a character I really liked. I thought that when I got to his story, if I was going to write out the stories like I had wanted to, I thought that would have been a really fun concept to toy with once I got into it and would flesh it out more in the process of writing it. I was really excited for that. But yeah, anytime I say I don't know how somebody got their powers, and it's especially if it's a villain, we'll just say that it was him instead of Viglanium, because I like that idea that he not only disrupted the world but permanently changed it just by giving all these characters powers. Speaking of characters who I don't know how they got their powers, Pulse was a character who's just kind of I had this. It was well, okay. If you remember Blink, I'm going to describe Pulse by reminding you of Blink. The idea with Blink was that she had a power that was based very much on my imagining how it would look on film, and in her case, she was able to teleport in a way that was just like a jump cut. And Pulse, I had this idea that whenever she moved, it would create this effect where there was like a pulse that disrupted the area around her, and then she would be gone because her power was super speed. Her design here is based off Jesse Quick from DC Comics, and that was just kind of it. I just had this idea of what it would look and sound like when she moved, and I just wanted to make a character based off that. But I didn't have any ideas for her other than that. So she was just like a super speedster villain who probably would have fought the super speedster heroes just like Flash and his super speedster enemies. Just a character who could match the speed. Because when you have a character whose only power is being faster than everyone, it becomes kind of hard to make villains challenging for them unless they can also be that fast. It's just a power that kind of makes everyone else it doesn't matter how strong you are if you can't even see the person, because they're so fast. So, but that was Pulse. Puppet Man. Okay, so Puppet Man actually ties into the Present Master because he was another Shadow era supervillain who just had this obsession with puppets. I think this drawing might have been inspired by a drawing of Scarface and his puppet master. But I don't remember exactly how he would have acted originally, because the original idea was that he was just like a normal, non-powered serial killer type, like a lot of Shadow's villains were. And I don't remember if he just left puppets as calling cards, if he actually used puppets in his kills somehow. But I do remember that after the Present Master event, he was supposed to get the power to astral project into his puppets, but only puppets he made. But he could make a puppet and then project into it, so his body would become just like this vacant, dormant thing. But then he could be in the body of this puppet, and if the puppet was destroyed, he would just go back to his human body. So that would allow him the ability to basically be completely free and do whatever he wanted with no real risk, because he could make another puppet, And that was the idea with Puppet Man there. And that's basically it. I don't think I had much more for him yet. The Purifier. So this was part of this was that I had this idea of the Joker, because this is obviously the Joker here, but I wanted to try and make a person who looked kind of like the Joker, but not due to any scarring or he wasn't he had a normal human flesh tone, normal colored hair, probably white skin, brown hair, I would guess, but just Caucasian skin and brown hair. I realize when I'm comparing him to the Joker, saying white skin could mean different things, but just a regular person, but he had this really weird face, this just really creepy look. But he was another Shadow era non-powered serial killer type, and I don't remember if I had an idea for what kind of superpower he might have gotten from Why did I say that? From Present Master later. But I do remember his name comes from his serial killer mindset, and he's just a kind of a stereotype of somebody who's just trying to purify the world by targeting people he deems as being undesirable or unwanted. like the homeless or like prostitutes or people who obviously don't deserve to be killed, but who he thinks does because he has this warped worldview. I also just like I combine this already existing idea with the desire to make like a Joker type face, but who isn't deformed like Joker is. He just looks weird. Pyro. Okay, shoot, I'm trying to remember exactly what Pyro's deal was, because I remember having plans for this character. I think he was a hero turned villain, kind of like Checkmate. Although in Checkmate's case it was because of mind control, and in Pyro's case it's just because he was fundamentally just kind of twisted and ended up breaking away from the hero lifestyle because he found that being a villain and acting in his own self-interest more suited his personality. And yeah, he's just a guy with fire powers beyond that. Like, he's a pretty typical fire guy villain. He's got like fiery hair, obviously it would have been red or orange, and he's got like the fiery hand. I really like how this drawing turned out. I don't know why the shadows on his face seem to be cast from the opposite side as the fire. That's a weird mistake that I made there, but other than that, I really like how his hand looks, so I'm happy with this drawing besides that one thing. Yeah, I don't think I had a lot more for him. He might have been tied to like the teenager group, like Checkmate was, because he looks pretty young. I don't know if he would have maybe been a member of them, or maybe even he tried to join them and didn't pass like a psych eval or something like that, and that's kind of what led to him just abandoning being a hero. I don't know. I think there's a lot of options there with that idea, but I don't remember for sure what my plan was at the time. Moving on, next is Ragnarok. I don't remember anything about this guy. I remember referencing this drawing from a comic I had, but I don't remember what this guy's powers were or anything. I think he was like a strongman type, like a super durable, super strong guy. I don't remember if he had any powers beyond that, and I don't know why his name was Ragnarok, other than I just thought Ragnarok was a cool name, I guess. But yeah, I'm sorry, I don't remember anything about this guy looking at him. I remember the drawing really well, that I don't think I might have just wanted to make plans for him later, and I just wanted to draw this drawing and name a character Ragnarok, and that might have been it. Sometimes they just don't have plans, and I just plan to make stuff up for them later. Rampage. So Rampage was tied to the Henshin mythos. Henshin, if you remember, was my Hulk knockoff. He was a scientist working on a super soldier type serum that ended up making him into this giant monster. And Rampage is the result of a European doctor, I think probably French. Probably he would have been a villain for the Phantom superheroes, the Phantom Femme and Phantom Kid. If you remember them, the like ghost-themed superheroes in France. So he would have been their enemy. But he was like this, we'll say he's French for the sake of convenience, this French scientist who had gotten his hands on the original Henshin formula and thought he had cracked a way to make it work. The idea was that he had tried to balance out the mindless rage that Henshin displayed by working in chemicals that would also increase brain functionality, and he thought he could balance and counteract it that way. But he was wrong. It did make him super smart, and that's why he's got this veiny brain-like forehead here, or at least that's how it's supposed to look. But it didn't do anything to counter the mindless rage. So he's really intelligent and really cunning, but the effect of the serum also makes him super irrational and emotional. So he's able to scheme and plan very well, and he's very articulate and knowledgeable, but he also is fueled completely by rage, and so that's why his name's Rampage. Or maybe I would have changed it to like whatever the French word for rampage is, rampage, whatever it is. I don't know. But that's basically it for him. Rave. Rave was tied to a group of other supervillains. So I'm remembering now that there was like a group of villains who were meant to be kind of like angsty teen characters. I think Dark was one of them, and I think Goth was one of them. If you remember Goth, and this is all coming back to me while I'm trying to remember. Firebrand, I think, was one of them. So these they all have very different aesthetics. I still like the idea of Firebrand and Dark Fusion being tied later. I don't think Dark Fusion was in this group though. Rave has fireball power. I don't think the fireballs were like normal color though. I think they were like a purple fire or a pink fire, something unique. And probably whatever color his mohawk was. Whatever color I would have made that, I would have made the fire the same color, and the fireball on his shirt too. But that was it. He was a member of that group who were like disgruntled teenage punks who maybe weren't super evil, all of them. Some of them might have been, but who definitely like to cause trouble. And I think he would have been like a lower tier member of that group. But seeing him reminded me of that for some reason. But so that I know with a lot of those characters, I think they were part of a group, and that was the group. And Ray was a member of that. Red. So Red was red. Like he's a big red-skinned guy. Which makes me wonder if he was meant to be tied to Henshin too, since Henshin was also red-colored. I don't remember if Rampage was supposed to be red or not. But he might have been tied to that mythos and that, or at least that serum in some way, now that I think about it. I don't know. I think he was made to be the muscle of a group, but I don't remember what group it was. I don't think it was the one I was just talking about that Rave was in, but I can't remember who it would have been. But yeah, I think he was just meant to be the muscle for other villains to use. I don't think he had much of a personality or anything to him. Or at least that was planned. He might have developed some while writing him. Regenerate. And I remember it was supposed to be pronounced like degenerate, but it was spelled like regenerate. But his name's Regenerate. But he, I mentioned that I had several villains that were based off of wrestlers in order to fight my character that was based off The Undertaker. And Regenerate was meant to be Mankind, specifically like the early version of Mankind. But he's got these belts on his face to kind of be like Mankind's mask. And that's probably also why he has a tie. But his power was that he could heal. But he was also just a big, strong guy. But he was like kind of like normal levels of strength. Like he wasn't superhumanly strong, just as strong as a guy who works out a lot. But that combined with his healing factor made him pretty difficult to deal with. But he was supposed to be an enemy for redemption. And just kind of fill the role of Mankind during Undertaker's feud with Mankind in the 90s, for those of you who follow wrestling. And if you don't, you don't need to. There's not much to know about it that's relevant here. It's just that that's who that character was. Rain. Or Ren. I'm not sure how this should have been pronounced. I don't really remember this character. She obviously has a bug theme. I'm kind of wondering if her wings might have been like rainbow colored. That would have been pretty. Like all these bug parts were gold, and she's got like rainbow wings. I don't know. Yeah, I think she's got the same eyebrows as the Monarch from Venture Brothers. I wonder if she was meant to be like a different take on that character. But like a more serious take, because the Monarch's like incompetent and comedic, but I don't think she's meant to be. She looks pretty confident here anyway. Maybe she would have been like a Catwoman for Insect Man. Because Insect Man was supposed to be in a relationship with Dr. Ray, but he could have had a flirtation with this character before that. Her name, I think, I don't know if it's French or not. She might have been another enemy for Phantom Fawn. I don't remember. I wish I remembered more about this character because I like this design and I see potential in this, but I don't really know. Anyway, I think we're gonna stop here. We're getting real close. There's not a whole lot left. I don't know. There's about this many left, if you can see. We might finish it next episode. I don't know. But if you come back, we'll find out. Probably, yeah. We'll probably just power through the rest of them. Maybe the next episode will be a little bit longer than normal to get through all of them. But I think next time we do this, it'll be the last. So I hope you guys will join me then. Bye.